Hi, today I'm going to talk about the coronavirus. Now, keep in mind, I am not a doctor, I'm not in the medical field, so by profession, by trade, I'm probably not going to be qualified to talk about the virus itself. But what I'm going to talk about is my experience as a citizen of China, as also my family, as a normal family here in China, and what we went through. And how it kind of unfolded and played out for us. So, the coronavirus started right before Chinese New Year, which is the latter part of January. And about like a week or two before Chinese New Year, and we started hearing rumors at that time that, Wuhan was getting very bad with this mysterious virus. At that time, and I think they have a name for it, it was just like, everybody's getting sick and then it's getting pretty scary over there. So we have heard like rumors here and there, but we weren't really sure. And then, quite frankly, I didn't really care at that time. I didn't realize how bad it was, and just it's still another piece of news you hear on TV, and it's like, oh, okay, whatever. And we booked a trip to Vietnam on the January 24th. Now, it was the day before we left on the 23rd. That's when they announced that the city of Wuhan is under lockdown. And that's when we realized, how serious things were. So my wife started to buy some masks online, and we weren't able to get any delivered before we left on the 24th, and then we went to Vietnam for over a week. And while we are there, we kept on receiving these news on our cell phones that how bad things are getting, and so everybody was really scared. And I managed to buy some masks while I was in Vietnam, and for our own family. So also we heard rumors that grocery stores were all cleaned out and people were panic buying. And I was concerned that what were we gonna do after we get back home, because we're taking a long trip. So right before we left, and we tried to eat as much as we could out of our fridge, try to clean it out. And at that time, as we were coming back from Vietnam, it just didn't seem to be a good idea, because I was worried that we're not gonna be able to get any food or any groceries after we came back from Vietnam. So the first thing, I got off the airplane and got into a taxi, and then I was asking the driver how bad it is here in Shanghai. And he was telling me it's pretty scary. Everybody's wearing masks. There's not a lot of people out there, and then everybody kind of don't know how it's gonna play out, and so it's a very eerie kind of a situation, And I asked him about the groceries, and then he said, "Well, the groceries are fine, and then it's very normal, and then you go to any stores and pretty much just like any other time." So I didn't really believe him at that time, and and then I came home, and then we went to the grocery store, and it seems to me it was actually very normal, and in the next a month and a half, I think the grocery store next to our house ran out of eggs twice, which is not that big of a deal. And at any given moment, some stores might run out of some item even without a pandemic. And so while we're at home, and then we basically just watch the news all the time, and then see how it develops, and we watch the number going up and up and every day. And that was very scary, even though the virus did not impact our family directly. But then we feel, we can feel how serious, and then you imagine those families, what they had to go through, and that was heartbreaking. And also on the news, and then I think after like a week or two after we came back, the number just started shooting up drastically. Every day there were like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people diagnosed, adding to the statistic. And you just watch the number from like 10,000 to 20,000 to 50,000 and to 80,000. And so that was quite a ride. And today is March the 16th, I think. And about like a week ago, and a week or 10 days ago, that's when things start to calm down a lot. Toward the end of February, really, it started calm down a lot. And then before, the streets were completely empty, and all work was suspended. And so, now a lot of places have their work resumed. So you see a lot more traffic on the road, and there is even traffic jam now. So I used to hate traffic jam, but nowadays it seems to be like a really good thing. And the numbers that are disclosing are getting down drastically. I think we're like at around right about like a 20 a day, 30 a day new cases added to the number, versus like 3,000, 4,000, about like a month ago. So what I want to say is, well, first of all, I think the government took a very drastic measure to it. A lot of people say they messed up in the beginning, and in a way, I think to a certain degree, yes, they did. But keep in mind, China is the first country to get hit by this virus, and there really is a fog of war going on at that time because there's no reference, and you really don't know what you're dealing with. And then I think one of the officials came out to say that it wouldn't be contagious, or it wouldn't be spread from human to human. That was a mistake, and he was removed from the office. But I think that was a mistake. And but given the fact that we probably didn't understand enough about it at that time, so but nevertheless, I think as an official, where you're leading a lot of people under you, and then the well-being of those people are kind of directly under your care, and should be a bit more careful, and so don't shoot yourself in the mouth, so to speak. And second of all, afterwards, and then but there was this drastic measure that was taken. Right, cities were locked down, and then the people. Hats off to my fellow countrymen, and everybody, almost everybody knew what to do, and then it was very well self-disciplined, and I have a lot of respect for that. And everybody kind of just knew what to do. So through a collective effort, I think we're able to flatten the curve in a fairly short amount of time, and about like a little over a month and a half, something like that, and then it kind of flattens out. So you can judge and to say, there are a lot of things that should have been done, could have been done, and a lot of what if buts. But nevertheless, if you put me in the position, I don't know if I can manage that well, because it's a huge task of locking the country down and make sure everybody has something to eat, and also make sure that life can go on, and while trying to combat this virus. And I think more than 45,000 medical personnel were mobilized in this country, and they went to Wuhan and other places to support them on their local effort. And so hats off to them. And then there's tremendous amount of respect from me to them. They're risking their own lives in order to save others. There are reports come out in the news that more than 1,000 medical staffs or personnel actually died from combating this virus. So my heart goes out to those families, and they are nothing short of heroes to us. And so we see a lot of stories, nurses and doctors overworking themselves, and then under those hazmat suits, and because it was in shortage at that time, so they're trying to not to drink water or try to not to eat their breakfast, try to drink or eat as little as possible, so they don't have to take the masks or take the hazmat suits off to go to the bathroom, because every time you take it off, you can't reuse it again, and it was in shortage. So it was ordinary people doing extraordinary things that really make the difference. So I think the nurses and the doctors, they are, you can call them angels, you can call them saints, you can call them whatever they want. You can call them, they're doing their job. But put yourself in their shoes. If the time is calling, can you do that? Are you willing to do that? And remember, a lot of them are volunteers. They volunteer to do this, to put their lives in danger in order to save everybody else's. So tremendous amount of respect coming out of me to them, and I think a lot of people in China is feeling the same way. Now, as you see a flatten of the curve here in China, and then actually now we're more concerned that the virus is catching on elsewhere in the world, and I do think different governments take a different approach, and then everybody had their own situations. I understand that, but I just want to urge that it takes a global collective effort to combat this. The virus being contained in one country, such as in China, and it's getting better in Korea as well, South Korea as well. It doesn't mean that it's the end of it, because let's say if we have one particular country that's it's having an outbreak, and then it's still affecting the whole entire global community, just like how it started here in China and affected everybody else. And so it's a virus, and it's virus doesn't attack a certain race of people or a certain nationality of people or a certain whatever background people. It just attacks people because that's how they survive, and we need to think about, as humans, how we survive. So I do think it takes a collective effort, and it also takes a tremendous amount of coordination, not only inside of your own country, but also amongst all the countries in the world, to have it contained on a global scale. And because otherwise you will have a global scale pandemic that will be going on and on and on. And there are reports that it might go away when the weather comes warmer, but I think better be careful than sorry. So sitting on your hand and then waiting for the virus to pass out, and it might not be the best way to do it. So I would urge all the governments around the world to really really work towards each other and work with each other, and set our differences down for now, and to basically have this collective effort, and then in order to help the mankind, really. I mean, saying this makes me sound like really big, but I'm just like a very normal, ordinary person. But throughout this experience, it gives me another perspective, really. And I want to share my perspective with you, and as somebody from ground zero, from being in China, and then tell you what my family went through, what our own experience is, and also share some of the thoughts of my own. So, and that's about it. And thank you very much, and see you next time.